Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're zooming in on a really crucial piece of the TIO framework, specifically Domain 1, Capability 3. Look, we're going to completely flip the script on how you view AI governance. I want to show you why it is absolutely not a roadblock, but actually it's your engine for moving fast safely. So if you've ever felt like your organization's AI initiatives are just, stuck in the mud, you are definitely in the right place. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to kick things off by busting the governance bottleneck myth. Then we'll dive into why accountability has to come before safe speed, how to define your boundary lines, the 3 vital evidence gates you need to pass, and finally, how to activate this whole mandate. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the governance bottleneck myth. Let's just tackle the elephant in the room right away. For a lot of executives out there, governance feels, frankly, like a bureaucratic waiting room. It's that dreaded place where really exciting, intelligent automation projects and new AI tools just go to stall out, get completely buried in endless paperwork, and eventually die. But I'm here to tell you that perception is fundamentally flawed. The big myth is that governance is basically just a committee whose sole purpose is to delay decisions. But what's the reality? The reality is that it's a dynamic decision system. It exists to tell people exactly what is allowed and exactly who gets to decide. Think about it like the transmission in a high-performance sports car. You wouldn't say a transmission is there to stop the car, right? No way. It's the exact mechanism that allows you to harness all that raw engine power and actually drive incredibly fast, safely. Without a transmission, that powerful engine, it literally just revs until it destroys itself. Moving on to part 2, accountability before safe speed. So, to build that transmission, we have to adopt a totally new core paradigm, and that is accountability must come before speed. You simply cannot move fast, safely, without first laying down crystal clear rules of the road. Literally, everyone in the organization has to know what's allowed, who holds the authority to pull the trigger on a decision, and what kind of things must stop immediately. Because going rogue and moving recklessly with AI, that doesn't just waste a ton of money, it completely destroys trust. When you look at the overarching intelligent organization framework, governance sits squarely inside the leadership domain. It acts as this critical capability that sets the rules. You'll notice it involves specific decision rhythms, things like reviewing, approving, adjusting, monitoring. It's actively setting the decision rights and establishing the cadences for AI, data, and technology across the entire enterprise. Which brings us to part 3, defining the boundary line. Now, to stop governance from turning into one of those aspirational, 40-page policies that literally no one ever reads, we absolutely must define its scope. And the boundary line here is simple, but it is incredibly strict. Governance designs the decision system. It sets the rules and the rights. And that's it, full stop. The other domains within your organization, like data, technology, factory, and people, they take those rules and actually apply them to their daily work. Governance builds the guardrails so the business can just do the work safely. This is where we see a sharp contrast between real behavioral governance and what I call paper governance. Real governance is just a set of plain English rules that people can actually understand and follow, not a massive, confusing document collecting dust on a shared drive. It's a clear approval and escalation path. It is absolutely not a substitute for having a real business strategy. For rules to be effective, they have to be visible, they have to be practical, and they have to be completely action-oriented. Let's shift gears to part 4, the 3 evidence gates. Okay, so how do you actually prove your governance is changing behavior and not just, sitting on a shelf? Well, you have to look for concrete evidence through 3 interlocking evidence gates. The TIO framework is super adamant about this. You must score evidence, not aspiration. If you can't unlock all 3 of these gates, your governance capability is functionally absent. You're basically stuck at maturity level 0. These 3 mechanical gates are essentially your blueprint. Step 1 is the approved model. Step 2 is the named body. And step 3 is the recurring rhythm. When you put these together, this is exactly what transitions your organization away from scattered ad hoc decisions and helps you build a real intelligent management habit. Let's break them down. Gate 1 is the approved governance model. Now, this isn't just a vague concept. It is a documented artifact that explicitly details decision rights and escalation paths. It maps out the known explicit paths for taking action, and just as importantly, the known paths for throwing a red flag. Having this proves that no single leader is out there carrying the impossible burden of managing every single AI exception or vendor choice all by themselves. Gate 2 requires a named body. This means you have an actual, accountable executive team acting as the authorized drivers for your AI decisions. By setting up this named body, you completely eliminate those awful siloed bottleneck approvals, where a project just gets stuck on one random person's desk for weeks. It guarantees there is clear ownership of escalation paths across the entire company. And then we have Gate 3, the recurring rhythm. This right here is the pulse of the engine. It works like a set of concentric dials. You need a weekly pulse for working sessions to just clear immediate blockers, then a monthly check with steering committees to review major risks, and finally a quarterly milestone to prove your ROI and set future priorities. When this rhythm is backed by real agendas, decision records, and action logs, it forces governance to be a living, breathing process day in and day out. Finally, let's wrap it up with part 5, activating the mandate. Let's look at how these 3 elements connect to drive actual organizational change. We call this the synthesis arc. You've got the approved model providing the architectural blueprint. Then, the named body provides your authorized drivers. And the recurring rhythm provides that steady engine pulse. Working together, these 3 elements rescue your AI strategy from being just some isolated corporate announcement and actually turn it into a relentless management habit. I want you to remember this crucial takeaway from the framework. A beautiful governance model on paper that does not change behavior is just a calendar burden. It's so true, right? If your governance rhythm isn't creating actual decisions, learning, and action, you need to simplify it immediately. Because overbuilding your governance is honestly just as dangerous as undergoverning. So before you go and launch your very next AI pilot, I want you to ask yourself this one question. If we scored your actual evidence instead of your aspirations, which of the 3 gates is keeping your organization at maturity level 0 today? Do you actually have the approved model, the named body, and the recurring rhythm unlocked to prove your governance as a transmission engine? Or are you just building a faster waiting room? It's time to start building your guardrails today. Thanks for joining this explainer, and keep learning.